looked at him, I says,
What's
"Gee,
wrong?
what's a bomb?" He says, "I don't know." So I says, "But you're older than me." He said, "Yeah, but you're younger than me." We didn't know what a bomb was. So that's what happens when you grow up in Fall River. You know, it's the end of the earth. So what I like about tying with this stuff, it doesn't matter color. And when you see a snake moving around, they have a lot of action. And another thing to think about is that when you tie deer hair, mice, and mouse things, patterns, and all that stuff, you know, they tell you use rawhide, different stuff. No, use hackles. They move better. And this is a fly that I use. I started using this about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And this fly is really deadly, and it can really throw you. What I mean by that, if you fish this bug in very weedy waters like where's my man John? Oh, John. What's the name of the place? Delaney. I'll say that. Yeah. So we fished this place, Delaney, and the trouble is that there's so much weeds and lily pads in this thing. The bass miss this thing. They just can't see. But if you go in a pond that has a few lily pads, it's great. It's just, and it's funny because they'll follow this thing, for pickerel especially, they'll follow it a long way. And then usually when I tie like this, I've been known to cut the tail off. And what I like about this fly, you use hackle that it's like you throw away. Woolly bugger hackle pack is great, and it's just a lot of fun. So now, like I told you about colors, this was from a guy in Mangelli, a guy from Rhode Island. So I don't know what happened. You can see the color the dye got on it and all this stuff. So I just like tying with this stuff. And of course you can get in trouble. But the most important thing is the thread. You know, there's people out there that use three regular wax thread and all that stuff. You really want to use something that'll let you work with it. So just two loose turns and then just pull it. With this thread, you can actually cut the deer here. The reason why I use this thread is that many years ago, I was teaching a class at Rentham Sportsman's Club, and these guys have been known to go to the club at 3:30 in the afternoon and drink beer. So I would get there at 6:30, and the class could be like, if it doesn't spin around, just move it around. And like what they would do is they get there at 3:30, start drinking beer. The worst thing you could do is have a class, and then the guy starts tying, he's got the tail on, he's going to put the body on, the thread breaks. Then you start all over again, and I don't like that. So at one of the sportsman shows, I saw a little Roman Mosier thread. It was made in Austria. I bought 10 spools. And before the next class started, I gave each one a spool, and I said, don't even put it in your bobbin. Just take it in your hands and break it. And they said, oh yeah, right, there's no problem. So they took the thread and they tried to break it. So I said, well, who's the earliest one here? The guy raised his hand. I was here at 3. I said, well, how many beers did you have? So the guy says, I think he said it's 7 beers. Right? I says, try and break it, go ahead. You know, you were very good breaking the thread. So here's your chance. Scott, I left my orders. I thought he was just here. this type of fishing isn't meant to take the place. I mean, I don't know what you guys do, trout fishing or bass fishing or stripers or stuff like that. It doesn't take the place of your favorite fishing. You just add to it. And what's nice about fly fishing is the best thing you can do is stand up your clothes on. Now, Bill Clinton would have another suggestion. Or Nancy Pelosi. So, this stuff here, there's no set pattern. The worst thing you do is tie with a set pattern, colors and all this stuff. It all works. I could tie this thing all black. I could tie it all white. It works. And then, like Scott has some bugs up there, and they were tied by somebody in New Jersey. And they got all fantastic colors all over the place, I mean, I don't tie like that. When I was a kid, I used to take a nail, and I used to heat it up with a torch and all that. Then I used to scar, burn that deer hair. And I used to burn eyes in it, It's a waste of time. See, this type of fish is not meant to drive people crazy. You just use the best thing going.
If you had a bobbin, would you be tying off between bunches?
No.
You just hang it, yeah.
Yeah, and you notice that when I started, I got a bare shank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spins better.
When I was 13 years old, my neighbor, he lived upstairs. I was kind of fortunate. So he said to me, I don't know if you saw, I don't have a pack, I'm not packing it here, I'm using my fingers and all that. And then he told me, he says, he would look at my bugs, he said, it's not tight enough. He says, you can always tell a trout fisherman when they tie bugs. I said, well, how do you tell? They're all loose, they don't know how to pack. Now, in 1954, my neighbor, his wife worked at a sewing shop in Fall River, and she came home with some thread, and we don't know what the hell thread it was, but you couldn't break it, and then we thought we were in like a Flynn, we thought, well, this is going to be the rest of our life. And then we used the 2 spools, and then couldn't find the thread. She didn't know, what happened, who had it, and all this stuff. So, then what I do is see what I did is I slit the mono in between the vice jaw, and then I could pull it up, and I could see how much of a bend I want. But I think before I do that, I think I want to cut some hair first. I don't do this at home because I make a mess. So I do it here. And then what I try to do is go along with the shank. When I got married in 1968, my wife wasn't a fishing person. We were married. The 3rd week we were married, she said to me one night, I'm going to take a bath. I said, all right. She said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to tie flies. She goes in, takes a, I could hear the water running. Then she started screaming. I thought she heard us something. I said, yeah, what's the matter? She said, look at the tub. I'm looking. I see the water in the tub. I said, what am I looking at? She said, look at all the spider legs. I laughed like hell. I think that's why I got divorced. I thought that was so funny. Spider legs. Oh, you see what I did is I brought the scissors into it, you know. It's tough when you cut this way, because you can actually cut the tail off.
You like using scissors versus razor blade.
I used to use razor blade, but I'm not good at it anymore. I go, okay, I'll take a little more, take a little more. It goes down, the whole thing goes. And I find that the fish, they kind of like a bug.
What's your favorite size hook for that?
There's only one size, 2.0 or 3.0. I get confused on this in one numbering system. You know, Gamakatsu. So I like, you know, big cat. One of my best fishing trips ever was in 1969. I worked at General Dynamics at Quincy, and these guys were saying, hey, you get big fish. Yeah. Well, we can only get fish like up to 15 inches. So they said, we want to know how you fish with bass. You know, so here's the deal. You come to Bridgewater on a Saturday morning, and we have the canoe. We're going to put you in front of the canoe, and you tell us where to go. So I showed up. No special gear. I got an 8.5-foot Shakespeare rod. At first I go, boy, that's big. And then they looked at my bugs and they said, that's really big. So I said, well, what do you guys use? Number 10, you know, caught bugs. So you'll see the picture. I mean, I had a field day. And it's nice when people paddle you around, you just tell them what you're going to do. And I had another funny incident years later. Somebody was renting a house at a place called Duval Pond in Westport. And I've only fished there once in my whole life. So the guy says, you know, we'll paddle you around, you just tell us what to do. So the guy's paddling me around, so I said, well, I want to go over to those lily pads near the shoreline. He said, no, everybody goes out in the middle. I said, no, I want to go over to the lily pads. I got a largemouth bass, and the guy said, what kind of fish is that? So I said, you never seen a fish like this? They said, no. And 10 feet or deeper water, it was all smallmouths. It was beautiful. And they would come to the top. Come to the top. Duval. It's near Sword. Near Sword. Yeah, Swordy's nice. I haven't been there in years.
I told you the smallmouth bass have been stunting me.
You know, I actually whacked off the thread. Oh boy. In Swordy Pond, what I found was that in the lily pads, I got smallmouths, and on the rocky, I got largemouths.
Oh, yeah?
Opposite.
I used to go with a friend of mine years ago that started me over there, and he was getting like 4 pounders.
Nice.
Over those lily pads.
Yeah.
He couldn't find the smallmouths then. But I'm right alongside of him with the same bait, and I couldn't even get one. I'm doing better now.
Did that ever happen to anybody? Cut your thread?
Yeah, 100 times.
I always got my fingers caught. See, that's what the trouble is if you use the same color thread as they here. Can't see it. Anybody here use a wood finish? I don't. I gave up long ago. So what I'm gonna do is you've been spending a lot of time making it all really nice and all that stuff. I don't. I tell people there's no right way or wrong way of fly tying. It's just fly tying. So when I tie it loose so I can adjust this loop, I want to see what this loop's going to look like. I don't go through the eye to hook. You know, that's to drive people crazy. When you get older, you can't afford to go crazy. So what I'll do is I like that bend right there, so I'll pull it tight. Cut what I want. And I like playing with matches. I get these at the Dollar Tree store, 6 for $1, nice package. And then, you know, other people use a lighter or something like that. They just put it down. Yeah, you could fish with this thing forever. It's not gonna, you don't have any problems. And it's fun when it catches stuff. So, I have two screws over here. I want to see this thing at night. So, I have a choice. In the daytime, I'll use a book in red.
So you tie the weak guard in before you put the front of the bug on.
Yeah.
So you're going to wrap the hair around the monofilament afterwards.
I mean, I've tried everything. I've tried weedless, worm hooks and all this stuff. And this thing, people say 50-pound mono. You're not going to hook anything. No. When they hit it, they want it. Thread. You're going to look at this bug and say, wow, there's not much hair in it. There's no problem. It's going to float. When I lived in Mansfield, I had this bright idea. Go fishing in March. So I tied deer hair bugs and put barbell eyes on them. And I went to Norton Reservoir. Started fishing. I couldn't get the damn bug to sink. So I know that don't work. I keep thinking about that salesman who started. When he found out we didn't have any bobbins, we didn't know what they were. He says, "Are you guys farmers or something?" The same guy, same Howard Laws. We were at the sportsman show tying flies, trout flies. And I look over and I said, "Howard, you don't have any wings on your dry flies." He says, "Oh, you don't need them because the trout can't see them." He's on top, right? 8 years later, at one of the shows, somebody asked him, how come you don't use rings? He says, I have trouble tying them on. I said, you didn't tell me that 8 years ago. Hope Scott's coming back. Yeah, the only trouble you gotta watch out is that weed guard. You don't want to whack that up. So with the weed guard, I'm gonna bring the thread down. I'm using the weed guard as a guide. You can visualize this thing. I mean, when I fish this thing, I'm in fishing the trees and stuff.
You treat it with anything on it? Proofing or
Nope,
anything? Not necessary?
No, not necessary. That's what I told you. Is that trout fishermen, when they tie these things, they have to be really bug floating and all this crap. And then if you want this thing to pop, what you do is just put cement on the hair itself, stiffen that up, and then just form it up a little bit, and you can pop it. And like for saltwater bugs, I'll do that. Put a lot of cement all the way around, make it bigger. And the cork in balsa wood, you'll find that this is easy to cast. And what I would use is an 8-weight rod with this thing, with a 9-weight line on it, because I'm fishing out of a canoe. I'm fishing out of a 12-foot canoe, and I'm fishing low. So when I get that button close, what I do is pick it up, and then what I want to do is try to shoot it out. So sometimes I got to make a couple of false casts. So,
You don't have any problem with your paddle wrapping around because of the weed guard, right? You don't wrap
oh
around
no,
the
won't
shaker.
wrap around.
Is that it? Can you
Sure.
have a shot?
Now this it's gonna be in the cup, properly speaking.
It just might be. There you are, we're good.
Then I always put eyes on it. And these are glow eyes. Or you could use animal eyes. You know, I'm having trouble finding these things. Years ago, I had these things all over the place. And I mean, they're beautiful. You know, you just cut it off. You just got to make sure they're the same size. You really don't need the eyes, but you know, they fool the fishermen. Now this stuff is really technical stuff here. This is the same stuff, the hoop, and they make this stuff. I like small tubes because it lasts longer. I used to get the big tube, but that's never going to use it. It doesn't work anymore. And I do get stuff from my fly shops, but I also get stuff from Ocean State Job Lot. 69 cents. I think it was made for the fly tie. And I use this stuff on saltwater bugs and all that stuff. And I used to get carried away with this stuff. I used to have red. I'd have a red throat. But I find you just don't need it. And you know what's nice about largemouth bass fishing? His eyes are always looking up. So, you saw me tie that thing. Anybody can tie it, and anybody can tie them better. And just have fun tying. Well, that's called shooting from the hip.